Welcome to the Matt Logan Show. Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We are going to talk about why local elections today, why they matter, and how they're extremely important. Craig, this is a big one for you. You were involved in a local election here near Rochester. In Rochester, I should say. I'm near Rochester, Minnesota.
Yep, I ran for city council in Rochester 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
you didn't make it?
I didn't. It was a super close race. I'm very proud of how I ran my race. It was pretty political times, and my opponent ran on the hot topics of the day, and she won.
Yeah.
So, but it really opened my eyes to how important local elections matter, and what was involved in running a campaign and dealing with supporters and people with different opinions, and it was a really fun experience.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
And then you're happy to have moved to a different location, so you can't run anymore.
I cannot run for local elections in Rochester anymore, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Hey, the 2022 elections, they're coming up.
Yep.
It's a hot topic in a lot of places in the country. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the listens are the biggest for us here on the show, and so which is all over the country. But we maybe should just talk about some of the local stuff. You know more about local stuff, and the reason I say local is because let me word it like this. While it's super important that we look at things from an umbrella federally for certain things.
Absolutely.
Most places that I go to have so many cool, unique things. New Orleans, what do you think of?
Mardi Gras.
New York City, what do you think of?
New Year's Eve and stinky.
Both true. Miami.
The beach.
Right. They're so very different.
Absolutely.
The culture in the areas are so very different, and it's so very important that they stay that way, and that's why local elections are extremely important for that local area. And for what we saw in 2020 was an enormous amount of provable, I'm not saying fraud, but I'm saying that provable that a lot of money was put in from very outside areas, and we're talking a ton of money.
Millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions.
In Rochester, millions of dollars.
Okay.
Yes, across the country, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But
we
why?
know Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook put in $420 some odd million throughout the country. Not in his local area, but throughout the country. And yes, why? That is so extremely interesting to me that someone would spend, no matter how much money you have, $420 million on elections where you're never going to be.
No.
And so that's why local is so important. School boards, all of it.
Yep. And it's interesting to even bring up school boards is because I think most people, and I was just as guilty, school boards seem to be a stepping stone to higher office. School board, city council, state level, national level, or for our local mayor, school board, state legislator, city mayor, and God knows what after this. But it's, at least they're going through the process of having some experience as opposed to people that come in with no community involvement and expect to run a town. But, maybe they have some other feathers in their hat.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say to me, we saw an interesting case of Trump, obviously, for 4 years. And the reason I bring that up is not to praise or demolish him, but that when you have somebody that comes into an area, it's pretty refreshing when they don't know what really the whole politics are, right? They love the country in his case. That seemed obvious, his view of the country anyway.
Yep.
But so you get somebody that comes in with that kind of passion and fervor, I think can go a long way as long as they have experience in some sort of administering people and some of that kind of thing. I think that's extremely important.
Right. And it's to get some fresh ideas and not be a part of the establishment. And both my opponent and I were kind of from that. I mean, I had a lot of experience with different volunteer groups and community involvement. My opponent didn't have that, but which I think set me apart from her. But yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that of untouched by the establishment and fresh ideas, or you're part of the process.
I think
part of the system.
Yeah, I think when you come from that perspective, I think you have more of your finger on the pulse of the community, or at least of people.
Yep.
There are a lot of people that come in from outside areas and run. That's obviously happening and has happened plenty in the last decade for sure.
Right.
Good, bad, or in between. I'm not saying that, but it's just the reality of it.
Yep.
But I think when someone can come in and they have more of a working class, they're in the trenches with the large majority of people.
Right.
There's 350 million people in the United States, roughly. I can't remember what the last technical census was,
sure.
but somewhere in there, right? How many celebrities do you know?
Personally, not many, but there's tens of thousands of them out there.
Okay.
Depending on what you
it's
think
it's a 1%.
If that, yeah.
Right. If you take like a local celebrity, news station type celebrity, all of them,
Yep.
maybe 1%,
Maybe.
right? So what I'm saying is that that's the establishment, right? That 1% is the establishment of just people
Yeah.
that have celebrity. It's not many.
No, it's not.
And so they don't have a pulse. I mean, we can see that celebrities like Will Smith and even Chris Rock, that whole ordeal. We see some of those things and how that goes down. They just don't have their reality is based somewhere else.
They're not in touch with reality.
Right.
They're at a totally different level of contact with the general public.
So when you have somebody that comes in that has more contact with the general public, like you put it, I think they can lead better, personally.
I think they have a more realistic view of what people's wants and needs are than somebody living in their high tower up on Fox Hill or something like that. Yeah, not pointing fingers, but absolutely.
So local elections coming up in this local area, there's thousands of them across the country in this year as well. Our governor race is happening this year also in Minnesota, along with a lot of other states. One of the things that I think for me, when I see and talk to people, I'm really blessed to talk to people all over the country. It's really fun. I love it. I hope that never changes. I mean, life changes and things like that, but I hope that never changes. I really enjoy that. And it's all races and all walks of life and religions and everything, and it's just super fun. Anyway, the thing that, from a local standpoint, that I see when you talk about a local election, it has an enormous impact on almost everybody. No matter your political view, no matter your religious view, no matter what you do for work, local elections, the local people affect them very dramatically. Whereas the federal stuff, it takes a little bit longer to sort of trickle down, right?
Yep.
What do you think?
Except for gas prices, but the federal government, they could adjust your taxes a little bit here and there, just as one example. But your local government, like in where we are in Rochester, they have a sales tax that's higher than pretty much anywhere else in the state. Yes, that gets us a lot of extra projects paid for that a lot of cities wouldn't have the opportunity to do, but that's directly because of our local government pushing that sales tax levy.
And I know a lot of people here locally that won't shop in Rochester just to save that money.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people.
Yeah. And then, how your local area is affected. Are your parks being taken care of? Are your roads being taken care of? That's not a federal level. And yes, they get federal money to take care of our roads, but it's not all paid for by the feds.
And
The
it's not
local government-
administered by the feds.
No, the local government gets to pick what priorities they want to take care of. So, those things, the schools and the local elections in regards to your school boards and how your schools are run, it's probably one of the biggest effects on, if not you, your kids, and what your kids learn is going to sure as heck affect you and your household. So, that was a big eye opener to me, was how important those school board elections are. So, my biggest thing is just get out there and figure out who's on those ballots. I have a favorite for our local mayoral race. And I don't need to share that here, but what I'm looking for in a candidate myself is somebody that's out there beating feet, and that was one thing during my election that we couldn't do because of COVID. I couldn't do, just physical disability, but those people that are out there shaking babies and kissing hands, talking to the neighbors.
Wait, shaking babies?
Shaking babies and kissing hands.
You stole my line.
Yeah.
No.
But community engagement and seeing what people want, and not just your followers. It's not just the 10% that you already have, but go talk to the people that don't share the same opinions from you and hear what they want to say. And, maybe you're going to learn something from them and change your mind. But just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean that you should shun them and not listen to them. I think that's a huge red flag in any elected official, is not listening to your opposition.
Actually, that
or
sounds like
blocking them on social media.
That sounds like another good episode. Maybe we should just come back and do that one specifically.
Yeah.
Kind of talked about the why of local elections. Maybe next time let's talk about how elected officials can engage the community.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hammer the like button, hammer the share button, and check out Craig's mustache. See you next time.